Hi everybody, my name is John Easton from FishTech, and today I'm going to be talking about DrDepth's latest developments and updates and upgrades, which I think you guys will find really interesting. Let's get straight into it. The first thing that you'll notice is that it's got a new control panel, which is really nice. You can basically open files, start from a waypoint. You can import data, converting it to a DrD, or you can connect directly to your fish finder slash GPS. And the most exciting part of all this is fantastic stuff, is you can draw side scan into your DrDepth data now. We've got the old help, we've got a boat tutorial, we've got a lake tutorial, we've got a link directly to Parapalin's website in Sweden, and there's a Yahoo tech group which you can join, become a member, and ask the guys for help there. The first thing we're going to get into is to decide where do you want to fish. So what I've done is I've taken an old silt map and I've laid it into Google Earth and I've calibrated it there, and then you can do this as a background in DrDepth. Now this is perfectly geo-referenced, so this is relatively accurate now. Okay, we can see there's old huts there, there's some roads, there's an island here, some more huts, trees. There's a lot of information. This is very handy stuff, but remember this was done a long time ago. I want to see what is current, what is happening there now. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to go up and down and create your path. I've already done this and I've created a database for it. Those were the runs that I did to record this area. But keep in mind this is just depth data. So I'm just going to calibrate this chart quickly. And there it is. You can control your depth levels. You can all look at it in 3D. This is nothing new. You guys will all know this quite well. So there's nothing new here. What's nice about this information that you're going to get from this, you can create charts for your Lorentz here, what we call LCMs, Lorentz chart maps. And when you want to stroll or cover an area and you want to stick to a fixed depth, you can do that very accurately with the charts created here. But we want to know more. We're not happy with just knowing depth data. We want to know more. So what do? We go back to our silt map and we now use the side scan data. We want to put that information in. I've done some pre-recordings here, and look at this. This is what I find really amazing. That is current information. Look how perfectly it's overlaying. Can you see the road running along here? Following that contour of the old silt map perfectly, going past the old hut there, coming over the island, some really interesting stuff on the island, onto a little secondary hump there, and then drops off into the depths. Now that's effectively just showing you the right channel. This was the starboard side of the boat. This is the range that I set 150 feet. Let's go and have a look what we actually saw there. Look at the detail here. We got a little hole here. A bass or some fish has decided to put a little nest slap bang in the middle. These are your sonar shadows from the trees. Some more little humps and lumps. This is great information. You can create waypoints of all this type of information. I've already done it, so I just highlight it. You can add as much information as you want here. These waypoints are merely done by holding down your control key and double clicking on these various spots. I'm going to turn those waypoints off for now, and that information then you go into your Waypoint Manager and you export it to your Lorentz user file format, save it to an SD card and bang it into the system. Or you can create it directly to the charts. You can save that information in the chart so that it's not data that can be lost easily. It becomes a background chart. Okay, let's not lose focus here. Some more humps and bumps here with nests. Very popular with the local fish. Some nice little ledges here with fish holding on them. Some more nests. This tree, those of you who fish in Inanda will know this tree very well. Especially with the water level being low now, you'll see this tree is actually sticking right out of the water. This was that old house or hut that used to be here. It's been broken down. There's a whole lot of rubble from it lying here. The nice big ledge, drop off some more trees, some more nice little ridges and ledges. We're back onto that road again. You can see what's left of the road. You can see some fish holding off this little ledge here. Again, you can create waypoints from this and come back to it later. The trees, which you can create waypoints and actually put that into your map, like I said earlier. And more trees coming right up into the shallows, up onto a rocky point. But what if you want to, in the depth data, I feel there's just not enough detail there to mark something like this accurately, because I want to know exactly where this ledge is, and I want to put a bait onto these fish. See these fish that are here and here? These are the fish that I want to target. But in order to do that, I need this line on my GPS, on my chart plotter, on my boat, and it must be accurate. The way to do that, in the latest DrDepth, we now have a thing called draw a line. So you can now put your mouse on there and draw exactly on that line. That can be converted either to a depth data line. I like to use polylines, and you can give it a name and it saves it as a DRD. I'm not going to do that now because I've previously already done that. And the way I did that, I'm just going to add it as info, and I've added all the lines in there. I've put in all the funnel points that feed up onto this hump here. I've put secondary, primary ledges, some really interesting little spots, little holes I've identified and marked. Let's go back. Let's have a look at this one. I've added a whole lot of them now, and you can see the type of information and data that is on this chart that we saw earlier. It's detail like this. There's an old concrete slipway that runs out here, and look at this detail here. There was an old road here, you know, before they put this concrete slipway in. There's an old road running here, forming a little V here, a little acute angle. There's the sonic shadow from a tree here, and some little rocks here. And these rocks, I know, hold fish. I wasn't too sure why this area produced fish before, but now I know. Okay, what can you do with this, with all this data now? This data needs to get onto your boat. How is the quickest and simplest way to get this data onto your boat? The way to do that is to take all this information and you convert it to a chart. This chart gets saved to an SD card and goes straight onto your Lawrence unit. And this is effectively what you're going to see. All those ledges, those old roads, those slipways, all this information, the trees, the crosses are trees, the dots are rocks, the X's is possibly man-made structure, something unusual which I can't really identify is down there, but something that the fish could possibly relate to. But remember, this is just a background chart. This is like your whiteboard which you want to write on top of. This is not removable data unless you remove the SD card. Then it will just go blank orange browny color. But let's simplify the charts. With the Lawrence HDS units, you've now got control over these charts so that you can declutter it further by turning certain things on and off using your chart category selection. What we've done here is we've kept the water outline, but we've taken away the contour lines, but we've left the funnel points, we've left the primaries, the names are still in here, the trees are still here, and the rocks are still here, and the unidentified objects are still here. It's decluttered. You can go further now into your categories and turn those primary ledgers off. Now you're just left with spots, really good fish that you've caught before, things that have really stood out, obviously names, you've got your water outline, and things that won't change, things like your trees and your rocks, they're not going to change. You can now go and fish that area with a very decluttered screen. But what happens now when you want to mark fish? Fish must not be marked on your chart, because fish move, they change, things change. So what do we do? From our previous recordings, when you do the sonar logging, you can, wherever you see fish, save those files, but save it as a separate file. So I call it fish. So I created a USR file called fish. I import that fish onto my unit. Now I've got the trees, I've got the rocks, I've got old identified spots, and now I've got these waypoints as icons where I saw fish in my recordings, but I don't know what fish these are. This is the problem. So the next step is you go and fish these areas where you find fish and you actually physically catch fish. I like to use the big red cross, and I put that on my chart as hotspots. I have caught fish here, and I save this USR file. You can turn everything back on again when you come back into that area the next time. You know where you identified fish before. That's the full chart right there. If you just want the waypoints and you don't want the chart at all, like I said earlier, you can actually just remove the SD card, and that's what you are left with. Thank you very much for your time. I look forward to chatting with you guys again in the near future, and hopefully we'll have some new exciting features that have been released by DrDepth.